You're watching Eye on Africa here on France 24 with me, Julia Kim. Here are the top stories from the continent. Zimbabwe's central bank tells citizens they can still withdraw foreign money, but residents are still worried that the ban on overseas currencies will lead to hyperinflation and economic catastrophe. Victory for locals in Kenya as a judge rules to block the construction of a coal power station in a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And the UN's peacekeeping mission in the DR Congo says it supports an arrest warrant for a Congolese warlord. The publication of the warrant was recently uncovered by our sister radio station, RFI. But we begin in Ethiopia, where men in camouflage uniforms killed more than 50 people and injured 23 others in the region of Benishangul Gumuz. The head of the region's security bureau said the attacks happened early on Monday. He also said the attacks may be linked to Saturday's failed coup in the neighbouring Amhara region. Officials now say dozens died in clashes there, with rogue policemen trying to unseat the regional government. The militia attacked the police headquarters, the ruling party headquarters, and the president's office, where they executed 3 top officials. Now in Zimbabwe, the central bank has assured citizens that they can withdraw cash from their foreign currency accounts. This comes amid a growing economic crisis. On Monday, the government banned local trading in foreign currencies after shops started pricing goods in US dollars. Many locals are paid in Zimbabwe's rapidly depreciating local currency, and they depend on overseas cash from relatives abroad. 11 years after Zimbabwe's last economic crisis, there are fears that President Emmerson Mnangagwa's cash-strapped government might raid foreign currency accounts. Well, let's talk now to Ryan Truscott, who's in Harare for us. Ryan, have Zimbabweans been rushing to the banks to withdraw their foreign currencies today?
I understand that more customers than normal have been going to their banks to withdraw foreign currency, and in some cases they haven't got it. It's not clear why, but it may be that individual branches ran out of cash and some banks weren't sure if they were actually allowed to hand out cash. Remember, though, it's unlikely you're going to see the kind of queues that we did last year for bond notes, the local currency. The number of people with foreign currency accounts is small. Most Zimbabweans are paid in local dollars, not in US dollars, but many locals do depend on the foreign currency they get sent by relatives from the diaspora, mainly through money transfer agencies like Western Union, which I have to say they then use in shops or trade on the unofficial market. That's why there's been panic that the authorities might stop Zimbabweans getting their US dollars from the transfer agencies or banks.
Now, why do President Emmerson Mnangagwa and his government say they're stopping the use of the US dollar?
Well, prices have been rising rapidly in the last few weeks as the local dollar depreciates. That's done 2 things. It's meant that more and more outlets have simply set their prices in US dollars rather than in the local currency. And it's also meant that many workers have threatened to strike if they aren't paid in US. President Mnangagwa said yesterday that the move to stop trade in US dollars was meant to restore normalcy to the market, to stop these rising prices and to stop what he described as a 2-tier system that discriminates against those who don't have access to US dollars. But critics say that people don't have confidence in the local currency, and as everyone knows, money systems only work on trust. What would give Zimbabweans more trust in their local currency? That's the question. One thing would have to be for the authorities to let the exchange rate float freely, and that would encourage Zimbabweans to trade the little hard currency they have legally, and so give the government access to US dollars for imports and foreign payments.
Now, just briefly, the main labour union has threatened protests if the government doesn't reverse its decision. Are we likely to see social unrest in the coming days?
Well, the Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions still wants workers to be paid in US dollars, which the government doesn't have. It wasn't too long ago that Zimbabweans were getting paid in US dollars during the coalition government between 2009 and 2013. We're back to the question of trust and confidence in local money. It's little more than a decade since the hyperinflation crisis. Zimbabweans have got very clear memories of seeing their salaries eroded, of seeing empty shop shelves. Will they want to go out onto the streets? We're not sure. I think we'll have to wait to see if the opposition MDC backs strike calls and if prices continue to rise despite these currency reforms.
Okay, Ryan Truscott, thank you very much for that. Ryan Truscott reporting for us there. Now, at least 15 people have been trampled to death at a stadium in Madagascar's capital. Dozens were also injured at the venue, which was hosting Independence Day celebrations. According to local media, the accident occurred late in the afternoon outside the Mamasina Stadium. Several thousand people had gathered for a concert following a traditional military parade. Last September, a deadly crush killed one person and injured 30 others in similar circumstances at the same stadium during a football match. Well, let's turn now to Gambia. And Gambia's exiled dictator Yahya Jammeh has been accused of rape by a former beauty pageant winner. 23-year-old Fatou Diallo said in 2014 Jammeh tricked her into coming to his home, then drugged and raped her. Her testimony is part of an investigation by Human Rights Watch into his sexual abuse of women. The report also describes how Jammeh allegedly coerced young women into sexual relationships by promising scholarships or helping their impoverished families. She said she plans to testify later this year before Gambia's Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which is investigating abuses committed under the Jammeh regime. To Kenya now, where an environment court has blocked the construction of a coal power station in the Lamu archipelago. Now, Judge Mohammed Balala set aside an earlier decision granting a license to developers Amu Power. The $2 billion coal project faced fierce resistance from conservationists and local communities. The company will now have to reconduct an environmental impact study the coal plant would have on Lamu. Now, the site is a popular tourist spot that includes a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Here's some of the reaction to the ruling.
The failure to hold any meetings from January 2016 to July 2016, and the preparation of a comprehensive study report without the participation of the persons most affected was contemptuous of these people, and the residents would have the most to sacrifice should the project proceed and the impact found to be more severe than that addressed by the science government.
This is a big day for Lamu people, it's a big day for Kenya, it's a big day for Africa, and it's a big day for the world, because we must fight the coal power generation. We can never ever allow it in our unique environment.
The UN peacekeeping mission in the DR Congo has backed an arrest warrant against a warlord in the country's conflict-ridden east. Guidon Shimire Mwisa is accused of mass rape and crimes against humanity. The arrest warrant was issued earlier this month by Congo's military prosecutor and has just been revealed by our sister radio station RFI. Now, to tell us more, France 24's Africa editor Nicolas Jammeh joins me on set. Nicolas, thank you. Who, first of all, is this warlord? Who is Guidon?
Well, he's a former lieutenant in the Congolese army, and since 2015 he's been at the head of a coalition of armed groups called the NDCR. According to the UN, he has several hundred men with him, and he targets Hutus, both civilians and fighters. Among the fighters, he targets the FDLR, who are the former Hutu rebels who fled Rwanda after the '94 genocide. He's reportedly killed hundreds of people and forced tens of thousands of Hutus to flee their homes in recent years. He allegedly makes his money by taxing the sale of gold in the territory of Walikale, especially. I just spoke to a Congolese lawmaker who told me that this arrest warrant was a positive signal from the new Congolese authorities, but he said that now we'd have to see if there hadn't been any links between Guidon and army officials in the Congolese army. That's also what some NGOs believe. They believe that Guidon and these army officials, basically they stole the region's minerals.
Now, why has Eastern Congo been racked by violence for such a long time?
Well, you have to go back to the period 1996-2003, and during that period you had the First Congo War and the Second Congo War, and during these two wars, several million people were killed, most of them not by violence, but because of diseases that spread in this difficult context. It's also a mineral-rich region, that's another factor in the war, and also you had neighbouring countries taking part in these two wars, especially Rwanda and Uganda. The first war led to the fall of Mobutu, the second one to the fall of Laurent Désiré Kabila, Kabila. And since then, the region's been very unstable. You have a myriad of armed groups. Some of them are accused of being linked to the Congolese army. Many analysts believe that maybe the biggest problem in Congo is impunity. They say, for example, look at Sierra Leone and Rwanda. You had specific tribunals that judged the people who committed atrocities, but that hasn't happened in Congo, where you had several million people dead. On the contrary, in Congo, you have among the chiefs of the army, you have former rebels who are accused of having killed thousands of people, especially in eastern Congo.
Okay, thank you very much, Nicolas Jammeh, for that. Now, Nigeria is the first team to reach the last 16 at the Africa Cup of Nations after defeating Guinea 1-0. Defender Kenneth Omaruo's second-half goal earned the Super Eagles a second straight Group B victory after beating Burundi by the same score. And coming up in just a few minutes, actually, DR Congo will face Egypt at 10 p.m. Paris time. Here's what some of the fans had to say before that.
We were very disappointed in our match against Uganda, but we want to rise to the challenge, face Egypt in their home country, and show them that we are a grand football nation.
Despite our loss against Uganda, today I am convinced we will win 3-0.
Well, that's it for this edition of Eye on Africa. Mark Owen is up next with the latest world news headlines. Stay tuned to France 24.